The stretched Tesla Model Y L 6-seater finally on sale. Major battery tech breakthroughs from BYD, Chery and Mercedes. Hard truths on electric utes from Ford's boss. Rivian R2 details. And fresh surveys show 1 in 4 Australians are now seriously considering an electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid switch, more than triple the interest from before the tensions escalated. This is Plugged In Australia. G'day, welcome back to Plugged In Australia, episode 30 on Saturday, March 14th, 2026. And the EV news cycle is moving fast. We've got brand new sharp priced models landing with competitive specs and local tuning. We've got the stretched Tesla Model Y L 6-seater that's finally on sale. We've got major battery tech breakthroughs. We've got some Rivian news, some news from Hyundai's China build plans, and we've got some more other stuff there. So without further ado, let's get into it. Rising fuel prices and supply concerns from the Middle East conflict are fundamentally changing Australian car buying behaviour, with 1 in 4 drivers now actively considering an electric vehicle for the first time, according to fresh Primera research data commissioned by green.com.au. Before the crisis, that figure sat at just 7%. Today, it has climbed sharply, with younger buyers aged 25 to 34 leading at 42% interest compared to 6% previously. The 35 to 44 age group sits at 40%, the 45 to 54 bracket at 25%, and even those over 55 have risen from 11 to 17%. If current trends continue and 35% of considerers convert to purchases, EV ownership could expand from around 4% of the national fleet to 13%, a 225% increase that would take the total beyond 1 million vehicles from the current 400,000 plus already on roads. Fuel security is the dominant driver, with 71% of Australians rating petrol prices and supply as a major concern, scoring 8 or higher out of 10. Cars Guide highlights 5 specific EVs now priced to match popular combustion models, closing the gap that once deterred buyers. You've got the GAC J5, which starts from $35,990 before on roads, as an alternative to the Hyundai Kona Hybrid, which is $36,950, delivering 402 kilometers of WLTP range from the front-mounted 155 kilowatt 288 Newton meter motor with 130 kilowatt DC fast charging, capable of 20 to 80% in 30 minutes. They've then got the Geely EX5 extended range at $45,990 before on roads, matching the outgoing Toyota RAV4 hybrid at $45,810. This one's offering 450 kilometers of WLTP range, plus synthetic leather, larger connected screens, and more modern luxuries while climbing the sales chart. You've then got the Tesla Model Y L from $74,900, which undercuts the Ford Everest Sport Diesel $75,990 with 6 seats, 378 kilowatts, 580 Newton meters output, and up to 681 kilometers of range. You've also got the BYD Dolphin Premium at $36,990 before on roads, which lines up against the Toyota Corolla Ascent Sport Hybrid, which is $32,110. This one's providing 490 kilometers of a WLTP range with 150 kilowatt, 310 Newton meters of torque for the motor. Now finally, the BYD Atto 1 Essential from $23,990, which is Australia's most affordable EV. And this one sits very close to the Kia Picanto, which is $20,790, delivering 65 kilowatt, 175 Newton meters, and 220 kilometer range from a very small 30 kilowatt hour battery. This one also gets the synthetic leather, a modern design, and vehicle-to-load capability. Regional dealers like Woodley's Motors in Tamworth confirmed the spike, with director Mark Woodley noting more inquiries on both EVs and hybrids in the past fortnight, despite charger gaps in the bush. BYD dealer Brendan Murray reports commercial orders rising too. including State Water taking a BYD Shark plug-in hybrid ute. Rewiring Australia CEO Francis Verboom points out battery EVs hit 11.8% of new car sales in February, with used EV searches up 30% last week alone. Polestar Australia MD Scott Maynard has seen building interest, while green.com.au founder Dave Green calls the crisis a shift from environmental choice to economic necessity. Range anxiety remains real in regional Australia. However, improving tech like upcoming Volvos promising 800 kilometres plus is changing the conversation. Now, hard truth, infrastructure lags in the bush and hybrids still dominate some fleets, but free solar electricity and maintenance savings are tipping the scales for many. Australian tuning shows in ANCAP ratings and local warranties across these models, positioning them as genuine alternatives to your RAV4, your Corolla, your Everest, your Kona, and the Picanto in both price and practicality. Solid-state battery technology, long considered the holy grail for EVs with its promise of vastly higher energy density, faster charging, and improved safety over liquid or gel electrolytes, is edging closer to production, with major players detailing timelines and performance targets relevant to Australian buyers seeking longer ranges and quicker top-ups. Chery leads with 2 solid-state equipped models already announced, the Exceed ES8 offering 1,000 kilometers range launching this year in China, and the Exceed Liefeng Rhino S packing 600 watt-hours per kilogram energy density for a staggering 1,500 kilometre range. Chery's Australia COO Lucas Harris expressed strong interest, stating, quote, "I really like the Exceed product and I think they make some really cool, really high-end, actual luxury specification vehicles. If I could make a wish tomorrow and it would come true, that would probably be what I asked for," end quote, hinting at potential Australian arrival for the premium Exceed sub-brand. Now, all those people that need to drive Sydney to Brisbane without stopping, oh, there you go. You got your wish. Just not sure how you're going to hold your bladder for that long, but if you've got titanium bladder, off you go. BYD is targeting small batch solid-state production in 2024 using oxide-based chemistry for easier manufacturing and safer, faster charging, though no specific vehicle applications are confirmed yet. FAW's hybrid solid-state approach uses a semi-solid slurry separator in a 142 kilowatt-hour pack, achieving over 1,000 kilometers of range and 500 watt-hours per kilogram density, and these have been already installed in test vehicles. Mercedes-Benz demonstrated a prototype solid-state EQS covering 1,200 kilometers from Stuttgart to Malmö, with 130 kilometers remaining, with Chief Technology Officer Marcus Schaefer confirming production targeted by 2030. Quote, "Our goal is to bring innovations like this into series production by the end of the decade and offer our customers a new level of range and comfort," end quote. SAIC aims for 2027 launch with some 400 watt-hours per kilogram density and completed production lines, while MG in China has fitted semi-solid state to the new generation MG4, though Australian availability is unlikely at this stage. Toyota partners with Sumitomo for cathode materials, targeting 2027 to 2028 production, and CATL plans small-scale sulfide-based output at 500 watt-hours per kilogram in 2027, with full scale by 2030. In the interim, BYD's conventional LFP Denza Z9 GT already achieves a 1,036 kilometre CLTC range with a 122 kilowatt-hour pack, and that is potentially coming to Australia. Now, solid state remains in its infancy, with opposition from GM exploring silicon graphite alternatives that may commercialise sooner. Now, solid state remains in its infancy, with opposition from General Motors exploring silicon graphite alternatives that may commercialise sooner, and development costs plus competing chemistries mean mainstream Australian availability could still be years away. Australian relevance lies in the eventual range and charging benefits of our vast distances, tying directly to local models from these brands already on sale. The 2026 GAC Aion UT compact electric hatchback is now available to order in Australia, with delivery starting in Q2 of 2026. Priced from $31,990 before on roads in premium trim and $35,990 in luxury, undercutting the Toyota Corolla in driveway deals while directly challenging the BYD Dolphin, AT2 and the GWM Aura on value. Introductory drive-away pricing is available until April the 9th and offers $30,990 for the premium and $35,990 for the luxury, and they are drive-away as opposed to the other prices which are plus on roads, but that'll only be for the first 600 buyers. Plus you'll also get a free 10 amp portable and a 22 kilowatt wall charger. Both variants share a front-mounted 150 kilowatt 210 newton meter motor for 7.3 seconds 0 to 100, and they're both fed by a 60 kilowatt hour LFP magazine battery, delivering 430 kilometers of WLTP range at 16.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers consumption. DC fast charging is a little bit on the lower end at 87 kilowatt for 30 to 80% in 24 minutes. Anybody who's listened to previous episodes know how much I really love the 30 to 80% numbers. It just, fill me with such joy. You will get 11 kilowatts AC, and you will also get V2L capability standard. I guess this type of vehicle, the DC rate is a little bit low, but it is a city car, so it's not something you're going to be DC charging very often. You're not, it's not a road tripping car per se. So you're going to be plugging it in at home or at work or something like that. And if it's three-phase, you're going to get your 11 kilowatts AC, and that's what this is mainly designed for. Some specs on the dimensions. So it is a 4,270mm long, 1,850mm wide, 1,575mm high, and it sits on a 2.75 meter wheelbase. So it's 105mm shorter, but 60mm wider than a Corolla, and it has a 110mm longer wheelbase. The wheelbase is what gets you there. So there's obviously overall length is a little bit shorter, but I guarantee you if you sit inside it, it will feel bigger than a Corolla will, because there's more room inside because they've just pushed the wheels out a bit more. The boot space is 321 litres, expanding to 689 litres with the seats down. You've got a 147mm unladen ground clearance and a 1.7 tonne curb weight. It's a 5-seat layout, McPherson front and torsion beam rear suspension, 17-inch alloys running 215/55 17-inch, as I said, tyres, disc brakes and electronic parking brake. Some of the standard features across both trims include a 14.6-inch touchscreen, an 8.8-inch digital cluster, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a heat pump, climate control, which is absolutely a must-have, adaptive cruise control, AEB, lane keep, blind spot monitoring, surround view camera, 6 airbags, and your driver monitoring systems. Hopefully not overly irritating. Luxury model adds a panoramic sunroof, a power lift tailgate, wireless charging pad, and ventilated driver's seats. Warranty is 8 years unlimited kilometres and 8-year 200,000 kilometres for the battery. Plus, you will get 5 years of roadside assistance when serviced at your local dealer. GAC International President, and I apologise, Wei Hangang, emphasised positioning. Quote, "We want to set ourselves as the middle premier brand, but with very high quality and with competitive price," end quote. Australian tuning includes full ANCAP compliance, testing and local dealer network rollout. Rivals like the BYD Dolphin, which gets sort of 340 to 490 kilometres of range, and the GWM Aura, 380 to 400 kilometres, obviously depends on the battery spec you go for, are beaten on range and power in most specs, making the Aion UT a strong contender for city and suburban buyers seeking some affordability without sacrificing features. The 2026 Rivian R2 mid-size electric SUV had its full pricing and specifications accidentally leaked ahead of the official reveal from a Rivian page captured by Ars Technica and then shared on Reddit. It's positioning it as a potential future full-drive contender for Australian buyers thanks to Rivian's confirmed right-hand drive production plans for the UK market. The first variant to hit the market in spring of 2026, which will be autumn for us here in Australia, is the R2 Performance with Launch Package, priced at US $57,990, which at today's current exchange rate is about $81,300. That's before on-roads and any other sort of delivery fees. And this was followed in late 2026 by the R2 Premium All-Wheel Drive at $53,990 US, which again is around $75,600 Australian. The more affordable standard rear-wheel drive models with a smaller battery are not expected until late 2027, and these are promised to be at US $45,000 level. The Launch Performance model features a dual-motor all-wheel drive powertrain producing 656 horsepower, which is about 489 kilowatts, and 609 pound-feet, which is about 825 newton meters, of torque. A 3.6 second 0 to 60 miles an hour sprint, which is about 100 kilometers an hour. It uses a 87.9 kilowatt hour battery, delivering up to 330 miles EPA estimated range. So that's about 530 kilometers in more lenient WLTP terms. The EPA is very strict on their testing performances in the States. Advanced capability includes a 9.6 inch about 244 mil of ground clearance, a 25 degree approach angle, a 26 degree departure angle, and about 2 ton of towing capacity with an optional tow pack. It also comes with semi-active suspension, 21-inch wheels, and an exclusive drive modes including rally, soft sand, sport, and launch. Dimensions are 4,722 mil long, 1,983 mil wide, that's with the mirrors folded, and 1.7 meters tall on a just shy of 3 meters, 2,936 mil wheelbase. That is a solid wheelbase, with an estimated curb weight of around 2.2 ton. Interior offers strong family practicality with significant cargo space behind the rear seats, and the latter premium trim drops power to about 450 horsepower, so about 335 kilowatts, while retaining the same battery and range, but with standard suspension and fuel features. As the smaller sibling to the R1S and R1T, the R2 is designed for mainstream adventure appeal and directly rivals the Tesla Model Y long range, BYD Sea Lion 7, Zeekr 7X, and the Kia EV5. Now, Rivian currently has no official plans or presence in Australia, and even with right-hand drive engineering already in the works for the UK, bringing the R2 here would require full local compliance, dealer network, and import approvals, likely pushing any potential arrival to 2028 or even later. That said, the combination of genuine off-road capability, strong performance, and competitive pricing makes it one of the most exciting potential new four-wheel drive EVs for Australian conditions if it does land. Very exciting. It's a proper, Land Cruiser rival, as people like to say, as that's the sort of benchmark that people have there. But, Nissan Patrol, any of those sort of large four-wheel drives, it's going to be a very good potential for that there. However, it's all going to come down to the price. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll just see how they go in the UK, and hopefully we'll see some brought over here. I hazard a guess to say that once it is launched in the UK, especially if there's not many plans to bring it here, you will start seeing some of those niche importers bringing them in and probably asking $250,000 for them. So we'll see how we go. Let's continue. Tesla has opened orders for the Model Y L Premium long-range all-wheel drive 6-seater stretched variant in Australia and New Zealand, the first export markets outside of China. Priced from $74,900 before on roads, with deliveries commencing in Q2 of 2026. Now, this model is commanding a $6,000 premium over the 5-seat long range and adds a third row of 2 seats, plus captain's chairs in the middle, power operation for all rows, heating and ventilated front second row seats, and a heated third row, and first Tesla V2L capability of up to 3.3 kilowatts via a charging port adapter. So some dimensions, it's stretched out to 4,969 mil long, so it's 177 mil longer. Width remains the same, 1,982 with the mirrors retracted and 2,129 with them extended. 1,668 mil tall, so they're saying it could be about 45 mil higher, on a 3,040 mil wheelbase, which is 150 mil longer, with the curb weight of 2,088 kilos and staggered 255 45 19s on the front and 275 45 19s on the rear. So that just means that the rear tyres are a little bit wider. And they are on some exclusive 19-inch Machina 2.0 wheels. Interesting fact is that Machina they've gotten that from the Latin for machine, the Deus ex machina. That is also the word for car in Sicilian, which is a Italian dialect, but it's not the Italian word for car though. So very interesting. Dual motor all-wheel drive produces 378 kilowatts and 580 newton meters for a 5-second 0 to 100 kilometer an hour and a 201 kilometer an hour top speed. Powered by a larger NMC battery, so it's about 88.2 kilowatt hours gross, versus 84.8 kilowatt hours, delivering about 681 kilometers WLTP range, which is 81 kilometers more than the standard long range. Charging matches the lineup at 11 kilowatts AC, and 250 kilowatt DC for a 10 to 80% top up in around 25 minutes. Cargo expands to 420 litres behind the third row and 1,076 litres if you put the third row down. And then if you want even more space, like going to IKEA or something, you can get up to 2,500 litres with all the back seats put down, plus a 116 litre frunk. Some exclusive features include adaptive suspension with balanced rear comfort modes, 18 speaker audio, which is up from 15, ventilated dual wireless chargers, 50 watt for the driver, cosmic silver paint option, a redesigned C-pillar and tailgate, and third row side airbags. The 5-star ANCAP rating carries over with additional third row testing, 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and 8 years 192,000 kilometre battery warranty. It undercuts 7-seat rivals like the Kia EV9 Air by over $20,000 while offering more luxury and the longest range in the segment. Australian first drive impressions note a spacious captain's chairs, generous second row legroom. However, third row access for adults is a bit tight. It has an intuitive 16-inch touchscreen with a rear 8-inch display and strong adaptive cruise performance despite no Apple CarPlay. Rivals like the Hyundai Ioniq 9 and the Mercedes EQB are more expensive. The Model YL positions as the affordable 6-seater family EV leader with full supercharger network access. And yes, I know other vehicles get supercharger access, but not full access. There are some Tesla-only ones. Only the superchargers that were done with government assistance, they are the ones that had to be opened up to everybody. The other ones that were built off Tesla's own pocket, they are still Tesla-only chargers. Hopefully they may change that. However, I guess they've got to have some sort of advantage, and that's a good selling point as well. Ford CEO Jim Farley, during his recent Australian visit testing BYD Shark and GWM Cannon alongside the Ranger and Land Cruiser 70, delivered a blunt assessment that pure battery electric utes remain impractical for mainstream towing and work duties without a major battery breakthrough. Quote, a pure EV with a large battery is going to be a really bad tow vehicle, end quote. Adding that heavier loads make BEVs even worse and advising against them for towing buyers. He highlighted extended range electric vehicles, so EREVs, using a petrol generator as a nearer term solution, noting Ford's pivot from the discontinued F-150 Lightning. Solid state batteries are still years away despite hype, with Farley observing, quote, I think solid state has been part of my future like fuel cells have been for my whole life, end quote. Farley praised Australian engineers for the Ranger Super Duty and plug-in hybrid, however warned Chinese products, while quote-unquote seriously competitive for lighter duties, lack decades of chassis, payload and upfitter experience. Quote, if you put 500 kilos in the back of a BYD Shark, it's not a Ranger, end quote. Yet acknowledged appeal for non-heavy users wanting electrification. Profitability questions arose. I have no idea how they make money when we tear the Shark and Cannon apart. The visit included customer meetings and even a Bunnings stop, underscoring Ford's focus on real-world Australian duty cycles. Hyundai Australia is actively scanning its global plans and could source more models, including electric vehicles, from China to better suit local demand, following the successful launch of the China-built Alexio medium EV SUV. Product Development Manager Tim Rogers noted the ability to search the world for suitable products with China already supplying the Alexio and Insta, while Europe and Turkey contribute the others. Chief Operating Officer Gavin Donaldson confirmed, quote, "There are probably multiple products that may come from other factories," end quote, and explicitly included China as a viable option without making it the sole priority. Cost was downplayed as a driver. Instead, product fit, right-hand drive compatibility, and market-specific needs take precedence, aided by the Shanghai R&D Center and new Asia-Pacific leadership under Don Romano. The strategy leverages Hyundai's 8 global plants beyond Korea, enabling unique Australian offerings like the Alexio not sold in the US or Europe. Australian relevance includes faster access to competitive EVs amid local price wars and emission rules, with potential for future use from Southeast Asia or US plants. Now, no specific new EV models were named. However, the approach signals flexibility to keep Hyundai's Australian lineup sharp against Chinese and Korean rivals. Honda has cancelled 3 major EV programs, the Honda Zero SUV, Zero Saloon, and Acura RS6, citing significantly declining EV demand and the risk of further long-term losses. The decision will trigger up to 2.5 trillion yen or $22 billion in total losses for the current fiscal year. The Acura RS-X dual-motor all-drive performance SUV and the Honda Zero Series flagship Saloon and the midsize SUV were all slated for 2026 North American launches on new dedicated EV platforms with Level 3 autonomy and advanced robotics-derived tech. Honda is redirecting investments into hybrids and a new powertrain and ADAS system for post-2027 commercialization. So, slowing global EV transition and tariff impacts on ICE and hybrid sales are hurting profitability. Now, I know there is no direct Australian impact from these models. However, there is potential ripple effect on Honda's broader electrification timeline. This cancellation underscores the challenging economics facing even established players in a market where Australian buyers are still weighing the total cost of ownership. The Community Batteries for Household Solar program, which is a flagship federal initiative pledging 400 shared batteries at $200 million over 4 years, is on track to exceed its build targets. However, has encountered delays and cost blowouts according to auditor findings. The program supports household solar by providing neighbourhood storage, directly benefiting EV owners through cheaper home charging. Auditor concerns centre on higher than expected costs and rollout timelines, though the initiative remains central to Labor's clean energy agenda. So this ties to growing rooftop solar adoption and the need for grid stability as EV uptake rises, with the program helping regional and urban households manage peak demand. And that's the latest from Plugged In Australia for episode 30 here on Saturday the 14th of March. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have any feedback, info@pluggedinaustralia.com.au. Thanks again for listening, and until the next time, stay plugged in and stay charged. Ci vediamo.